It's another lovely evening. Getting ready to go and hit the pavement and get my run out of the way. As you guys can see, the sun is getting ready to set back there. And yeah, man, I'm excited to get this done. We're getting one day closer. Now, in all fairness, and I have said this several times, this is my second attempt. But we're going for it again. 365 days running non-stop, no days off. Right? Not non-stop, but no days off is what I meant to say. So hang in there and I'll see you guys when I get back. It's one more day done. I'm excited to say that I'm a little closer to my goal, 365 days running without taking a day off, increasing a mile, every month. And I just want to share some thoughts that came to my mind today. A lot of times when I'm reflecting, when I'm thinking about myself, and I'm having internal dialogues, I tend to ask myself questions that a lot of times I don't think people ask themselves. Like, for example, I ask myself things like, who are you? Have you ever asked yourself, who are you? Like, what are you made of? Like, for example, what makes you you? If you haven't asked yourself these questions, then how can you possibly know what makes you tick? What motivates you? What are the things that really you like, and what are the things that you don't like? Why do you like them? That's another big question. Why do I feel a certain way? Why do I look at certain things and have certain reflections? Or why do I hear certain things and establish certain opinions about them? Have you ever asked yourself why? For example, we're in this political climate right now. We're in an election year, and I hear everybody stating their opinions on YouTube or on Facebook or on TikTok about their political candidate and vote for this guy or vote for that guy. I can't believe she's doing this and I can't believe he's doing that. And the thing is, have you asked yourself why? What is that opinion based in? What is your opinion based in? Is it based on memes that you see on Facebook? Is it based on campaign ads that are paid by the person who's trying to convince you to follow them? Is it based on campaign ads that are created by one candidate to smear the other candidate? Is it based on beliefs that were handed down to you from generations before you? For example, I hear some people say, I'm a Republican. And why is that? I'm a Republican because my daddy was a Republican, and my granddaddy was a Republican, and my great-great-granddaddy was a Republican. Okay, but why? Why are you, not why were them? Like, what is it about the Republican Party that you resonate with? And then the funny thing is that sometimes when I ask these questions, people will say, well, they're the true Americans, like they're anti-socialism, and they're the people that care for my ideals. And then I ask questions like, what is it about you that relates to them? Because see, the thing is, the Republican Party or the conservative party, yeah, it's about conservative ideas, but primarily, if you read about them, you're going to find out that their number one mission is to actually preserve wealth. And I'm not talking about new wealth. I'm talking about generational wealth. Hence why they conserve wealth. And if you're not generationally wealthy, I hate to break this to you, man, but that party is not looking after your interests. They're looking to protect the 1%. The 1% that controls the 90% of the wealth in America. That's who they are working for. Okay? And I find it kind of interesting. Now, I'm not telling you I'm a Democrat. I'm not telling you that I'm a Republican. And I'm not telling you that you should be anything. You should be what you want to be. You should be what you need to be. This is the beautiful thing about America, is that we have the right to be whatever we want. Right? But maybe the question is, why? Why are you? And if you find the answers to that, then that's great, man, because if you're Green Party, Independent Party, Democrat, Republican, whatever, you have the right to be there. And a lot of times, and I'm just using the political climate just because we're in election year, but a lot of times you hear people say things like, I went to college and I became a doctor. Why? Did you like medicine? No, I hated it, actually. I hate being a doctor. I went to med school, I became a doctor, and then I found out within the first year of med school that it wasn't a thing for me, but I was already in the medical program, and it was so expensive, and I finished the medical program, and then I went and did my practice at an ER, and then whatever, yada, yada, yada. And they're stuck in careers that they don't like. And part of the problem is that they never ask themselves why. They went to medical school because their dad was a doctor, their grandpa was a doctor, and their great-grandpa was a doctor, and therefore they follow suit their generation. There's military families, which I find kind of interesting. So my grandfather served in the Korean War, and my dad served in the Vietnam War, and now I'm gonna go serve in the Afghanistan. Why? Is it because you have a patriotic duty that you feel that you have to accomplish, that you have to meet up or whatever? Or is it just because your granddaddy and your daddy and your great-great-granddaddy served in the military? And do you know why they served in the military? I'm not saying that it's okay to serve in the military or that it's not okay to serve in the military. I'm just saying that if you're going to make decisions that are going to impact your life for the rest of your life, it's important to sometimes do some deep exploration and actually find out why. So I'm going to tell you guys a little story. This little girl, right? She walks up to her mom on Thanksgiving Day when they're preparing Thanksgiving dinner. And she notices that the mom cuts the end of the ham. She cuts it down, takes the bone with the whole entire end of the ham. She cuts it off, throws it in the trash, takes the rest of the ham, puts it in the pan, slides it into the oven. So the little girl looks at the mom and says, "Hey mom, why did you cut the end of the ham?" And the mom says, "Well, that's how I learned to do it from your grandma. Why don't you go ask your grandma? She's in the living room, right?" So the little girl goes over to the living room, and grandma's sitting there watching, football or whatever with everybody else. And she goes, "Grandma, I was asking mom, why does she cut the end of the ham to put it in the oven?" And the grandma says, "Well, I'm not entirely sure why that is. I actually learned to cook the ham that way from her great grandma. Why don't we go ask her? She's out in the backyard catching some air, right?" So they walk out to the backyard, in the back patio, there it is. There's great grandma. She's sitting there in a rocking chair, having a beer in her hand and chilling out, just kind of enjoying the sunset. And they basically come to her and they ask her, "Tata, my mom and my grandma cut the end of the ham when they put it in the oven. And they said because they learned that from you, does that make the ham taste better? Or is the end of the ham not good?" And the great grandma looks at the little girl and she starts laughing really loud. And she goes, "No, baby. When I was cooking for Thanksgiving, it was the time of the Great Depression. We didn't have a lot of money. And so the pots and pans that we had were that's what we had. And the ham always seemed to be too big. I didn't have a pot big enough to put the entire ham in the pan. And so I used to cut the end of the ham and I would slide the ham in the oven. And I guess that's kind of how your grandma learned to make it, and I guess that's how your mom learned to make it." I want you to think about that. For generations, these people have been throwing away a perfectly good section of the ham in the trash because they never stopped to ask, why do you do that? Now, if grandma would have asked great-grandma, "Mom, why do you do that?" And great-grandma would have told her that. Well, needless to say, when she was growing up and the situation and economical climate of the country was different, she would have just simply bought a bigger pot instead of throwing away all this good ham. Right? So today when I was running, I was thinking and asking myself a lot of questions like why? Like what makes me me? Like who am I? Who are you? Are you somebody that looks at challenges as just something that you take on and then you quit? And do you want to change that? Or are you somebody who actually takes on a task, commits to it, and pushes themselves to achieve the growth and accomplishing that task? Are you somebody who is constantly trying to please other people? Are you living your life because of your husband's expectation or your wife's expectation? Are you living your life because of your parents' expectation? Are you living your life because of the way your neighbors or your friends perceive you? Or are you living your life because of who you are? Who are you? Are you an engineer because you want to be? Or is that what the counselor at your college convinced you that you should go to school for? Because there were so many salaries and so much money to be made in the technology. Do you like being an engineer? Would you rather be something else? Are you a school teacher because you love what you do? Or is it because your mom was a school teacher and your grandma was a school teacher and it was just an expectation that you would follow suit? Do you know who you are? Look, if you're my daughter and you're watching this, somebody told me once that you can't step into the same river more than once because the bed of the river with the flow of water, the water drags sand or dirt or debris or whatever on the bottom of the river, so the bed of the river is constantly changing. And the water, needless to say, is constantly changing because it's constantly moving. You're never going to step into the same water. So you cannot step into the river at the same river twice. It's impossible. So I want you to think about that because your life is constantly changing. And if your life is constantly changing, who you think you are today, it's not going to be who you are in a year from now. It's not going to be who you are 10 years from now. It's not going to be who you are 5 years from now. And it's not who you were today when you're 12. Right? So what does that mean? That means that you have to check in with yourself. You have to periodically ask yourself the questions: who am I? Who have I become? Who do I want to be? What makes me tick? What makes me who I am? What interests me? Because you are the artist of your canvas. And life is your canvas. And you can draw it in bright colors or you can draw it in dark colors. But at the end of the day, this is your canvas for you to create your life and you to make the changes that you need to make your life truly yours. I'll leave you guys with those thoughts. And I'll leave that message here for my daughter because I hope that someday in the future, when she's older and she's watching these, this will remind her of this idea. Thank you so much for following my videos. You guys have a wonderful evening. We're getting closer to our goal, 365 days without taking a day off. Take care.